Hey everyone, welcome to my first video of the season. So today's team is an old team of mine that I featured in my ABB video a while back, but it's definitely worth revisiting. I think it's currently one of the strongest teams out there, and a big reason is because it's able to shift with the meta that changed during Sphere Community Day. Sphere Community Day introduced probably one of the biggest meta-breaking Pokemon in the game with Powder Snow and Icicle Spear on Walrein. When pairing that with a Trevenant, they cover each other so well that it became a very popular core. The good news is that today's team has strong play against it and will have a strong play against the normal core that exists already within the meta. Without further ado, let's introduce today's team. So today we're running a Nidoqueen Double Dark team, specifically with Scrafty. Now my previous Nidoqueen Double Dark team ran Sableye originally, and that was because it was a better core against things like specifically Azumarill. But since Azumarill has been decreased in the overall format, Scrafty might be a little better. This is because Scrafty responds to Walrein, Trevenant, and G-Fisk better than a Sableye would. Other variants of this team have run things like Mandibuzz instead of Scrafty or the Umbreon. But personally, I wouldn't really want to run one of those at the moment because of how prevalent Walrein is at the moment. With Walrein being as strong as it is and being such a common Pokemon inside the meta, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable running a flying type at the moment. Anyhow, let's get started with some battles. So in the lead, we automatically see a Trevenant, another really common core Pokemon out there. They're going to switch into Walrein, and I'm going to switch into my Umbreon at the same time. I was looking to basically switch to do my safe swap, but they happened to bring out their Walrein first. That's fine. This is actually a relatively neutral matchup, but Umbreon gets hit just by a little bit. One of the best things about Umbreon is that it plays a really good safe swap, and this is because it can literally take so much damage. If it's neutral damage, you almost never have to block because of how high the defense is on an Umbreon. Additionally, because of its moveset Foul Play as well as Last Resort, it's able to do a lot of neutral damage to most Pokemon out there. Now, I've seen some people use Psychic as a variant for Umbreon. Psychic is better for the Azumarill matchup, but it's really bad against dark Pokemon. So if you were to go against something like a Mandibuzz or like a Scrafty, you would have a lot of problem by running Psychic. With this fight still going, we've reached a point where Walrein has to block these moves or they're going to be knocked out by my Umbreon. With both shields down, I know that my Scrafty as well as my Nidoqueen are in a really good position because they're able to literally go ahead and go for their strong moves instead of going for baits like Poison Fang and Power Punch. Right now, this Trevenant's in a really bad position. They're going to struggle to farm me down, and they took so much damage from that foul play. They have a decent amount of energy, but that's okay with me. I bring out my Scrafty because I know for a fact that Shadow Ball would do a lot of neutral damage against my Nidoqueen. Instead, I would rather focus on my opponent throwing their charge moves against my Scrafty, and then I could try to either A, farm it down with Scrafty or farm it down with Nidoqueen, just like that. I wasn't sure what the last Pokemon would be, but it ends up being just another really strong core meta Pokemon. Good thing I was able to bring out my Nidoqueen. I'm able to go for the Earth Power right away and do a lot of damage to this G-Fisk. At this point, this first game is over because literally I can go ahead and bring my Scrafty out after this and then farm it down. I don't bother blocking it because I know that my Scrafty can easily take out this Stunfisk pretty easily. All I need to really do is block one charge and I'll be able to KO it if it even gets there. And there goes game 1. Let's go to game 2. So in game 2 we meet a really bad matchup. I'm going to immediately switch into my Umbreon as my safe swap, and they're going to bring out Stunfisk. So in a position like this, you generally want to block the first one move they have, and the reason is because most Stunfisk will try to Earthquake first because of how tanky you are. Your game plan as Umbreon is to constantly just throw as many foul plays as possible. Because of this, you're probably going to have an advantage just because you're doing such split up damage that they have to really rely on Earthquake just to take you out. Unfortunately for the G-Fist, Rock Slides just don't do enough damage to Umbreon to win this matchup. If I can take the lead here, I'm super confident that my Scrafty can go ahead and beat the Wallen really easily and give me extra energy for whatever is in the back. Now that I have such a health lead, I'm not going to worry about blocking because at this point, it's only going to do just enough damage to chip at me. My job at this point is to try to throw a foul play with as much energy as possible in hand. This move is going to get Rock Slide, and at this point, I know that my opponent is energy dry, so I'm going to really just try to get once again as much energy as possible. Unfortunately, I know my opponent is really tanky too, so I can't farm down, meaning that I have to throw foul play right then and there. The Wolverine comes back out. I'm going to just once again throw my foul plays to do some decent chip damage. I think at this point my opponent's trying to farm me down. Oh no, there's the Icicle Spirit. So when they throw this Icicle Spirit here, I know that they're relatively low in energy. They should have basically one extra Powder Stone. I switch into my Scrafty, they switch into their Trevenant, which is okay. I'm going to just throw a Power Punch to bait, and then go ahead and probably dip out. That way I can align my Scrafty against their wall rain. The reason why I decided to bait here was because I was pretty sure my opponent would block this because they can't afford to take a foul play and they still have 2 shields. Because they block it, I switch into my Nidoqueen, and at this point I'm just going to be throwing those Poison Fangs as quickly as possible, and then I'm going to go ahead and let this Trevenant pretty much damage as much as they want. If this attack ends up being a Shadow Ball, I'm okay letting my Nidoqueen go because my Scrafty will actually take out the Trevenant right afterward and then be in a good position to take out the Walrein afterward. Now that I have good alignment, I'm going to go straight for the Power Punch. They should probably block this, but I know they're not going to because it's my first Power Punch. The thing is that now they're at a point where I can farm them down without having to go for a second charge move. This charge move should be an Icicle Spirit, but I block it because I have 1 extra shield anyway, and it's going to go down to my final counter. And there goes game 2. On to game 3. So in game 3, I go against a Bastiodon, which isn't something I really like seeing. I personally just hate Bastiodon as a Pokemon inside Pokemon Go because of how tanky it is and because of how linear the Pokemon is designed. That being said, it's a relatively good matchup for Nidoqueen because all I need to do here is just go straight for the Earth powers, and if I keep focusing on that, I can go ahead and take it out pretty easily. On top of that, I don't really have to worry about blocking so much because they only have Flamethrower as well as Stone Edge, which don't do enough damage to take out my Nidoqueen. We actually both switched there at the same time. I was actually trying to snipe down their Bastiodon by trying to counter it down with Scrafty. They respond with their Scrafty, which is not great for me because they are able to sneak in that counter move over there, meaning they're actually going to outpace me to a second Power Punch, unfortunately. They block my Power Punch, which is fine, I guess. At this point, they're going to be able to farm me down before I get to my second charge move. So right now, my opponent has 5 counters, meaning that this move should be a foul play at this point. I'm going to focus on getting as much energy as possible while I farm down this Scrafty. One of the best things about running this type of double dark is that if they are to use a counter user or a fighting type, I know that my Nidoqueen resists that typage, so I don't have to worry so much about throwing energy too quickly. They bring their Bastiodon back out, and I throw a Poison Fang. I don't know why I did that. I know for a fact I had to switch over here. Their final Pokemon ends up being a Venusaur, which is actually really good for me. With Umbreon, I know that it can basically out-tank a Venusaur without much difficulty. In a position like this, the Venusaur has to get to 3 Frenzy Plants to take me out. I, on the other hand, only need to do 3 Frenzy Plants as well, but I actually outpaced Venusaur to 3 charge moves. Here comes their second Frenzy Plant. At this point, I am just shy of 2 foul plays, so I'm going to throw my foul play right away, and then go ahead and throw 1 more Snarl, and then throw my 3rd foul play, which will take out the Venusaur. Here comes my 3rd foul play. And there goes the Venusaur. I bring my Nidoqueen back out, and I actually should have gone for the Earth Power there, but I don't know what happened. I must have misclicked and went for the Poison Fang. But that's okay, because at that point, the Basilisk was so low that I was able to take it out with a Poison Gem afterward. And there goes Game 3. Moving on to Game 4. So in Game 4, we actually see an Azumarill, which is what this team was originally designed to beat. Azumarill in the lead, they switch over to their Sableye, and I bring out my Sableye counter, which is going to be an Umbreon. Now the strategy for Sableye here is to basically throw 2 returns. Return does a lot of damage to Umbreon, even though it can take it pretty easily. It's still pretty high damage for what Umbreon is. I'm in a position where I can outpace the Sableye to foul plays versus their returns. That being said, I think I need to have 3 returns to take out this Sableye. The one thing I definitely don't want to do in this matchup is take 2 returns, because that will be a little too much damage. At this point, my opponent should have enough energy for a second return, so I'm required to block this move. The good news for me is because they already threw 2 charge moves, I know that I can farm it down from there. They're going to bring out their Azumarill, which is pretty good against my Umbreon, but because I have Last Resort, I can do a decent amount of neutral damage to this Azumarill. Additionally, because of how tanky Umbreon is, my opponent has to throw a charge move, or I can eventually take it out with just using Last Resort spans. Now my opponent still hasn't thrown a charge move yet, so that indicates to me they're saving their energy for something. That being said, these Last Resorts are really starting to add up. Now this is going to be probably an Ice Beam here. It might be a play rough, but either way, I'm going to let my Umbreon go down and then bring my Nidoqueen back out. Since that first one was in fact an Ice Beam, I know this is going to be an Ice Beam, which I want to block to preserve my Nidoqueen. After they throw that charge, they bring out a Registeel. Registeel is kind of complicated over here. The reason is because they have Focus Blast as well as Zap Cannon. Both these moves are actually resisted by Nidoqueen, so I'm going to use my Nidoqueen as a shield to my Scrafty. Now that they've thrown energy, I'm going to bring my Scrafty back out, and at this point, my opponent is going to concede the game. In hindsight, my opponent should have blocked the Earth Power, but I understand why they didn't, because if I were to get a Poison Fang and an Earth Power, it'd be much more threatening. Let's move to Game 5. So in Game 5, we're met with a mirror match. Now the mirror match is actually really difficult because it really comes down to a bait game, you know. Is your opponent going to throw the Poison Fang, or are they going to throw the Earth Power? So over here, you would have noticed they actually snuck in a Poison Fang that I didn't notice, unfortunately. I go for a Poison Fang to go for the bait. I'm actually able to sneak in my Poison Fang as well, which is fantastic. That being said, they also go for a Poison Fang bait. Now we're both basically trying to bait each other down. Because I didn't realize that they snuck in a Poison Fang, I don't block this. I think it's going to be just a Poison Fang again, but it ends up being an Earth Power. That's really bad for me. So I now need to manage to finish this game with my 2 Pokemon in the back. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Poison Fang, which it is. I'm not really worried about that. At this point, with my Umbreon, I'm here to let it take damage and soak up energy from this Nidoqueen. I think at this point my opponent was trying to go for the Earth Power, but because of the Poison Fang, I'm actually able to take it out first. Their second Pokemon ends up being a Mandibuzz, which is fine. I'm going to actually throw this last right, then switch to my Scrafty to clear the Poison Fang debuff on Umbreon. This is also to get neutral damage with counter against it. They actually responded with a Trevenant, which is fantastic, because this means I have 2 Pokemon that have a neutral matchup against Mandibuzz, and on top of that, I have a very good matchup against Trevenant. In this specific matchup, I went for the foul play first because I wanted to try to get the heavy damage down, or I wanted to go ahead and get their last shield. I'm not super worried about the health going down on my Scrafty right now. The reason is because I want to save the shield for Aerial Ace because it's super effective. At this point, I now have a Scrafty that can do bonus damage because it had a power punch inside of it. This here is really going to chip away at the Mandibuzz. On top of that, the Mandibuzz has to throw energy here or will not be able to take my Scrafty out. This is because I'm actually double resisting all of the Snarls that's coming at me from the Mana Buzz. With the second Power Punch, these counters are really going to start adding up right now. I choose to block this Aerial Ace here because I know they cannot farm down my Scrafty. This forces them to throw a second Aerial Ace immediately or take even more chip damage. Right now, I know that I'm slightly ahead on health with my Umbreon, but they have an extra shield. In a position like this, I just have to just throw foul plays because I know that Aerial Ace doesn't do a lot of damage. Additionally, I'll be able to get the 3 foul plays before they can take me out with Aerial Aces. Here comes their second Aerial Ace. These two tanks can just take so much damage. Here comes my second foul play. They're probably going to block this because at this point, if they choose not to block it, they'll be losing their shield either way. And here comes their third Aerial Ace, which still will not be able to take on my Umbreon. Finally, I can finish off this game with the last resort. A foul play would have also taken them out, but either way, it's fine. In retrospect, what I could have done is I could have gone for 2 last resorts instead, but either way, that was a close match at that point. And there goes game 5. It's been a while since I've actually played with Nidoqueen Double Dark, but the team has always been really good, especially right now with the recent increase in the zoom rolls, with Trevenants, with Walreins out there. I want to say that this team is probably the strongest old meta team that exists right now. If you have the ability, I highly recommend playing this team. I know with the recent Johto event that happened over the weekend, there are a lot of people out there that were able to get a last or Umbreon. Right now is probably the best time to play it. Umbreon Psychic is okay, and it actually helps out a lot in the Azumarill matchup, but if you have Psychic, you will really struggle with the Dark matchups. Example given with the Mana Buzz that we had in that last game. If I had been running Psychic, I'm not sure I would have been able to win that matchup. Thanks for tuning in, and if you liked the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be doing videos every week to keep up with the cups that are coming out, and if there's a Pokemon that you want to see out there, let me know in the comments and I'll fit it in. Anyhow, I wish y'all the best luck at the Battle League.